Hey guys, welcome back to episode 13, 2 of 3, called Because of Gabby, Because of Me. This will be a continuation of my last episode that I opened up with some details. But again, this is True Crime with Tiff Klein, giving criminals the disrespect they deserve. Thank you for coming back to tune into the second part because of Gabby. In episode 12, I explained my first abusive relationship and how it changed my life. And because of Gabby, I was able to start healing. I left off with how leaving one abusive relationship mentally, physically, emotionally, verbally, only to end up in a worse one without any physical abuse. But it was worse. The narcissistic abuse, the chokehold without hands. Now, the broken, low, empty, hollow shell of a person I was so desperate. I took any compliment and validation and breadcrumbs that I could get. At the time, I was vulnerable. And little did I know, some men prey on that. They're predators. They meticulously find vulnerable, broken women and disguise themselves as a wolf in sheep's clothing. They find someone to feed their ego, and they don't prey upon stupid people. When I met this boy, I won't say man because, well, he doesn't deserve that much respect. I was smitten. I never felt this way about anyone in my entire life. I didn't even know I could. He listened, he remembered, he charmed, he threw the bait, and I took it. I went for the worm, and what a worm he was. My first mistake? Not healing, in taking time to love myself before meeting someone new. I went from one to the next because in my mind, I had mentally and emotionally checked out of the last one long before I met this one. What I didn't know was what I still carried with me. And the first night we hung out, I trauma dumped. I told him all my skeletons and darkest times. I was so eager just to tell someone what I've been through. Someone who gave me the space. Boy was at the biggest mistake of my life. I told him not to make him pity me, but to show him I wasn't broken and that I'm worth something, and he used every ounce of knowledge I gave him. I gave an inch, and he took 20 miles. He used it against me. I don't know about you, but narcissists have this look in their eyes, and when they know they got you hooked, they squint their eyes, they make a smirk, and they kind of slowly nod their head yes. At least that's what I dealt with. And every time he got one over on me, and he was proud of his accomplishments, proud of his ability to catch his prey, he made that look. He was pleased with himself time and time again. The story's over. Now the end. Just kidding. Okay, so up until this point, I thought I had met the one who made my heart skip a beat, the one I let my guard down for, the one who I would have laid on trade tracks for, or walked through fire for, or took a bullet for, the one that made me learn what unconditional love was. However, I wish I could go back and kick my own ass and say, smarten up, bitch. This isn't love, this is a trauma bond. You didn't learn from the last one, Tiff? No. This was different. I couldn't ever put my finger on it until years later. Until I was too invested, until it was too late. The slow dances, the affection only on his terms, the lust, the chemistry, it was all an illusion. It was all bullshit. He told me what I wanted to hear to get what he wanted. I encourage you to listen to the song Liar by Henry Rollins. This song describes my most recent ex to a 100 million% T. And he used to sing this song on a stage in our friend's backyard with such passion. And I actually have a video of it that it's just disturbing. So here's some of the lyrics. Again, the song is called Liar by Henry Rollins because everything I say is everything you ever wanted to hear. So you drop all your defenses and you drop all your fears and you trust me completely. I'm perfect in every way. Because I make you feel so strong and so powerful inside. You feel so lucky, but your ego obscures reality. And you never bother to wonder why. Things are going so well. You want to know why? Because I'm a liar. I'm a liar. I'll tear your mind out. I'll burn your soul. I'll turn you into me. Someone, me, became somebody who would do anything whenever he asked. Whether it was picking up his drunk ass off the floor to put him in bed, to make sure he wasn't throwing up and I was up all night taking care of him, driving him places because he was too drunk or lazy, never cooking for me, never bought me a gift in 6 years. If I was sick, forget it. I had to fend for myself because, a sports game was on and, his wallet depended on it. Getting me flowers once, then got mad because I posted them on social media. Do you want to know why? Because he didn't want other women, as he called them, back burner meat, to know that I existed. That's the only explanation. It blew his cover with other women. I was in denial, but I also wasn't stupid. But again, here I am in another trauma-bonded, broken, toxic relationship, losing myself, no self-respect. There were times where he would let me take photos and post them. And then there was other times where he refused to get in a photo with me and then yell at me if I posted them. And that's how I figured out his patterns and put two and two together that he was cheating. I was his girlfriend when it was convenient. While he was on the prowl, getting new prey, he'd run around, ignore me. Then a few days to weeks later, he'd come back like nothing happened. And dare I bring it up, or it was World War III. And I would be reminded on why he hasn't put a ring on my finger or signed any contracts with me, because I would express how I felt when he disrespected me. I guess he'd thought he could return to old watering holes where friends and dreams would be there to meet him without hesitation. Boy, was he wrong. If women knew about me, how would he have a rotation? I made a point to make it known to many that I existed, and they'd come out of the woodwork. They'd send me proof of messages, and then he'd call them shit starters and told me to believe whatever I wanted, even when I had the proof of those messages right in front of me with a profile picture. And he would say, believe whatever I wanted, as if those messages were not from him, gaslighting me. A Freudian moment, quote, Freudian moment. Sex was only on his terms, and when I gained weight from my health issues, he refused to touch me. Once I dropped the weight, he was all over me again. To this day, I still have issues with my body. They say there are 8 different kinds of narcissists, and I ended up with the charming trickster. Oh yeah, the one who comes in and sweeps you off your feet, the one you aren't looking for, the one who you never saw coming. But it seems like the stars aligned and the world put you together, and it was fate and it was destiny, and the one everyone says is so nice, but they have no idea who the fuck you deal with behind a closed door. They don't know who the monster is. Again, I encourage you to listen to the song Liar by Henry Rollins. A song, mind you, again, my ex would sing with such passion. Some of the lyrics go, I'll hide behind a smile and understanding eyes, and I'll tell you things that you already know. So you can say, I really identify with you so much, and all the time that you're needing me is just the time that I'm bleeding you. Don't you get it? I'll come to you like an affliction, and I'll leave you like an addiction. You'll never forget me. You want to know why? Because I'm a liar. The one that makes the world stop and spin at the same time, but he's only in focus. That's what I dealt with. I dealt with someone who made my world stop, but spin at the same time. The one that made me feel alive when I met him. After feeling dead inside for so long. To me, he was the puppy in the window, and I wanted that one. Yep, the mangy mutt that at the time I saw as a cute little puppy who needed a home turned out to be a flea-infested mangy mutt. I wanted to fix this little pup because, he threw the whole sob story of no one can deal with his work schedule, and he didn't want to commit to the last one, and when he finally did, she cheated on him. Little did I find out later they were only together 3 weeks, not 8 months like he said, and he cheated on her and then did some other things that possibly was or was not true, so I'm not going to repeat it, but then some of those same things happened to me when I left him, so it all came full circle. The parts he left out, he was a degenerate alcoholic, drughead gambler who cheats, lies, and disappears for weeks, even deactivating social media so when he cheats, no one can figure him out. Using his illusion of, quote, spirituality to prey on vulnerable women and ruin their lives even more. He deceives his way through life, using everyone like an appliance and throws them out to replace it like a new, shiny toy, always replacing his supply. He forgot to mention all of that, and the fact that no respectable woman with her shit together would tolerate his bullshit. I mean, that's the real answer behind it all. He forgot to mention he's a deadbeat dad who knocked up his friend's girlfriend when his friend was asleep and never played a part in this kid's life, even 19 years later. He forgot to mention he lived at home with his mother at that time he was 35. And let me remind you, he's 43 and still living with his mother. Maybe he forgot to mention that he'd been through trauma. And even though he has a master's in psychology, he thinks people who seek out therapy, insight or guidance, help or advice, and take medication are weak individuals. Maybe if we started there, I would have saved myself the embarrassment, the trauma bond, the fight or flight mode, the chronic stress and anxiety, the depression, the immune system crashing, going to court multiple times, panic attacks, sleepless nights, Googling every ulterior motive or song meeting, filing PFAs, and having to go back for his violation of stalking and harassing me. Maybe if we started with his demons, he would not have preyed upon mine. Maybe if the piece of shit actually took accountability, if he had a soul and he wanted to be a better person, he wouldn't have such the shit life with nothing going for him. But hey, he creates the world he lives in. He should have seen it in the cards. And if you know, you know. There was a time when this man was like, haha, I'm like Good Luck Chuck. And at the time, I'd never seen the movie. And he said, I meet women and I move them on to where they need to be. He'd sing songs to get messages across because he was emotionally stunted and didn't know how to communicate. Well, he chose not to communicate, and he'd leave for days, ignore me for days, sometimes weeks, and create an abandonment issue that I now have to deal with my therapist because the one before him did it too, both for power and control. And I'd say out of everything I endured, the stonewalling, ghosting, and blocking did the most damage psychologically. At the time, I didn't know or understand what he was saying about being like Good Luck Chuck. Now, I know he collects trophies, and looking back and watching the movies, he meets vulnerable women, builds them up, helps them find their future husband because they aren't man enough to step up and be that man for them, builds them up, gets their ego fed, breaks them down for his own pleasure and enjoyment, and once they speak up, and once they don't want to be drunk every night, and once they don't want to put a line up their nose and call him out on his cheating and his lies and his bullshit, he throws them away and finds new supply and calls those people who call him out neurotic, psycho, annoying, and tells them to die because no one wants them around. I mean, I'm speaking for myself here, but I'm sure he has done it to others. And I'm 1,000,000% sure it's continuing with the new one that he cheated on me with and replaced me with, the love, quote, love of his life. No, not the love of his life, the supply, the one that puts up with his bullshit, the one that walks on eggshells, the one that's manipulated, the one that just bends over backwards and is meek and doesn't have a voice and won't stand up for herself, the one that will sit and party with him and never question his actions, disrespect, or motives. This one joins him in on all the things I mentioned above that most women with a lot of self-respect would not partake in. Oh, and she cheats too. Yep, she cheats too, and they're just a perfect match, and I'm glad they found each other because no one else is going to put up with that bullshit. So anyway, match made in heaven. He kind of reminds me of Sid from Toy Story. And if you know who I'm talking about, he's just a child, and he's devious, and he's a bastard, and he's just, you want to kick his ass, right? So Sid in Toy Story gets toys. He lives next door to Andy, and he's always breaking them apart, creating his own mutated versions of toys, blowing them up with fireworks and firecrackers outside, and then he destroys them when he's bored, and then he gets some kind of sick pleasure out of torturing his toys, throwing temper tantrums, throwing fists when things don't go his way. Do you get the picture? Then when we stand up and we speak, we get yelled at, talked down to, stonewalled, and blamed, and told this is why they don't put a ring on your finger because of your neuroticism. But remember, seeking help and guidance and insight makes you weak. Total sarcasm. Just reminding you of the mindset of someone with a master's degree in psychology that helped kids is what he lives his life by. So how does this all connect to Gabby? Well, because of Gabby in 2021, I saw her on TV. And she reminded me I was going down the same path I was on, minus the physical abuse. It all felt familiar. The chaos, the highs, the lows, the validation, the constant anxiety, the stress, the walking on eggshells. When I saw her missing, when I saw her that they found her body, when I saw her crying to the cops, I saw me. I was Gabby. Only I got out the first time. The day they found her, on September 19th, 2021, I'll never forget. I was standing in my kitchen making dinner, and I specifically remember making hot dogs and macaroni and cheese. And I was watching JB Buno of WFLA of Tampa News covering the Gabby Petito story, and breaking news that they confirmed that they had found Gabby. I hit the floor, I cried. I don't know if it was a cry for pain for her or relief that they found her or relief that I got out, or either way, like it hit me like a ton of bricks and I cried. I hyperventilated. I was mad, sad, angry, numb. Then when they released how she passed, I went numb. I can't tell you how many times I cried with her parents while they were on TV. I never missed a press release, an interview, a documentary, a breaking news segment for the entire case, start to finish, including now. I'm still caught up with everything. I wanted to be a voice. I wanted to help. And I wanted to be an example that you can leave and life does get better. But I had to be all of that for myself first. Because of Gabby, I began speaking and telling my story with truth and strength and power. Because of Gabby, I began healing. Because of Gabby, I found my voice again. Because of Gabby, I started standing up for myself. Because of Gabby, I started to live the life I wanted. Because of Gabby, I promised myself I'd never let anyone hurt me ever again. At that time, physically. Unfortunately, it took me 3 more years to leave that narcissist because of the mental anguish and trauma bond we had. I wanted to break it off several times. I wanted to be free. I just couldn't walk away. I was addicted to the drug. He was the drug. Then I'd get my fix of his affection and humor and kindness and one-on-one time and be good, till the cycle would repeat back to the bad, then the little good that would follow until I finally ended it. He used to make fun of me relentlessly about how invested I was in the Gabby Petito case. When I would say, I'm going to meet her parents, I'm going to be a voice, I'm going to help people, I'm going to help the foundation, make fun of me and tell me I wouldn't do it. And here I am doing all of that. Again, more lyrics from the song Liar by Henry Rollins says, if you'll give me one more chance, I swear that I'll never lie to you again. Because now I see the destructive power of a lie. They're stronger than the truth. I can't believe I ever hurt you. I swear I'll never lie to you again. Please, just give me one more chance. I will never lie to you again. I swear. I will never tell a lie. I will never tell a lie. Ha 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 ha, sucker, sucker, sucker. Oh, and did that end horribly? An embarrassing way for him in front of a room full of people who finally saw the person behind the curtain. He had fooled some of these people for 20-some years, and they couldn't believe what they saw. And when they heard the things that came out of his mouth to me and to my best friend, and learning later on that he has an active PFA that he's already violated, they can now see who the neurotic one really is. The more I watched and learned about Gabby, the more strength I got. You know, meeting her parents and become a volunteer for the foundation has brought me closer to healing. The more I see myself in her, but for good reasons, not all bad. I travel more, I laugh more, I stick up for myself, I stopped being a people pleaser because of Gabby. Because of Gabby, I'm reminded every day that I'm strong and resilient and to chase my goals and dreams again. Because of Gabby, I was finally able to tell my story in full. Some friends knew, but I told my story publicly to Gabby's mom, Nikki, on an interview back in March of 2025 for the first time in full for the world to hear, and it was liberating but surreal. Here I was telling Gabby Petito's mom how my story is a lot like Gabby's because of Gabby. I took my power back and got out. Gabby didn't. I stopped protecting my abusers. I stopped talking down to myself. I stopped living in victim mentality. I stopped being codependent because of Gabby. I got loud, and I haven't shut up since. And never again will I stay silent to make someone else comfortable. I started trauma therapy, I restarted medication, and I don't feel ashamed or embarrassed for any of it. I can say because of Gabby, but also because of me, I was determined to get my life good, to get myself good mentally, emotionally, and physically. Because of Gabby, I found my voice. I remembered who the fuck I was and left a toxic, narcissistic, trauma-bonded relationship with someone who not only took every ounce of love I had in my body to give, he used it to his advantage. He talked down to me, he disrespected me, he lied, he cheated, he put me through hell. The mental games, his social experiments, his ego, his charm, especially his super ego, referring to himself as Freud, should have made me run. You see flags, but you think it's a carnival. His way of sucking you in when you have one step out the door. He's dangerous. He's a predator. For more reasons why I'm putting down, because I'm not going to go down that path from what I've heard from other women, I wasn't there. He's destructive to himself and everyone around him, but everyone else is the problem. Everyone else is the loser. Everyone else is fat. Every woman that's had a baby is blown out. And these are quotes from him. Everyone else is neurotic in his eyes. My biggest regret is giving my love to two men who deserve piss in a pitcher labeled as lemonade. Two men who deserve the worst wished upon them, but that's not who I am. I just stood up to them face to face. I threw their bullshit back at them. I stood toe to toe with a man full of rage in his eyes, knowing that I was probably going to get punched in the face. I threw their bullshit back at them and pulled them on them. And boy, do not like things being turned on them. See, with narcissistic people, it's a cycle. It's lather, rinse, repeat. It's constant recycling of women or men, because there are narcissistic women, keeping them at arm's length, but close enough to dangle breadcrumbs that make us ignore the bad and only focus on the little good we're given. Like a reward for a dog learning a new trick and not barking when told not to speak. You can say I'm angry. You can say I'm bitter. You can say I'm a woman scorned, but can you blame me? I, however, take accountability for staying somewhere I wasn't respected, loved, cherished, and treated with human decency. But that's the thing about what you think love is. When it's all you know and all you understand, you will go to the earth's end to prove your worth to someone, but they won't consider you in the slightest. I believe in karma, and as I said, there's a cycle with narcissists, and even though they think they're full of surprises and mysterious, they're so fucking predictable. They're so smart, they're stupid, they're losers. They're bottom feeders, they're energy vampires, they're leeches. I ask you to look up the song Liar by Henry Rollins over and over again. That, my friends, is the description of someone I dated who is an evil, dark soul. A class A narcissist, a vile piece of shit. They'll come to you like an affliction and they'll leave you like an addiction. See, these men saw my good heart, but they underestimated me. Something I told them both to not ever do. Do not push me over that line, because once I do, you're fucked. And they learned the hard way because they thought your girl was playing. Because I tolerated so much in the past, I guess they thought I didn't have it in me to stand up to them. But one morning, the spark came back, the lights came on, and I was done. Sometimes love just ain't enough, and conversations kill. Because of Gabby, I'm safe. Because of Gabby, I'm proud. Because of Gabby, I'm helping other people. Because of Gabby, I'm finally living for me. Would this man ever hit me? I don't want to say never, because you never know. People are so good at wearing masks, being charming and fooling everyone, and usually they're the most devious, sadistic people behind closed doors. I have a feeling Gabby's dirtbag was a lot like both of my exes combined, and if I could hug her, I would hug her so tight and not let go. In Gabby, I found purpose. Because of Gabby, I came back to life. Because of me, I am here. I know that was a lot, and it's been 6 years coming, almost 7, to write that, to put that out in the world, and I can't tell you how healing that is for me, because I promised myself to stop protecting my abuser. Now, I will never say names. Do they deserve to be called out? Yes. But I'll let your wandering minds wander. And for those who know me, can put two and two together, because this is just general knowledge. And I don't name names only because I'll put the ball in your court to figure out who I'm talking about. Thank you for listening to episode 13, part 2 of Because of Gabby, Because of Me. Join me for episode 13. This is where I'm going to talk about my healing journey through rest, therapy, healing, purpose, and how I got to this podcast, and how the Gabby Petito Foundation has inspired me to do better and to, quote, just be a better person. If you need help finding resources, escaping a domestic violence or toxic relationship, and you need resources and you have nowhere to turn, I want to guide you to the GabbyPetitoFoundation.org. Here you can find a safety plan, you can find help and resources. Now, they don't provide direct services or legal representation, but they've gathered helpful legal advocacy resources and it's all posted on this website. The National Domestic Violence Hotline offers free and confidential support. It's 1-800-799-SAFE. Text the word START 88788 or chat live at thehotline.org. Again, that's the National Domestic Violence Hotline, offering free and confidential support. 1-800, text the word START 88788 or chat live at thehotline.org. Gabby Petito's story has helped many recognize abuse in their own lives or those of loved ones. We know this can be triggering, so We encourage you to navigate this realization with care and the right resources, and you'll find support to help guide your next steps below. So please visit the GabbyPetitoFoundation.org. Her parents, Nikki, Tara, Jim, and Joe, are training first responders on the signs of domestic violence. They are going into schools and speaking to kids as young as 6th grade. They are traveling across the country. They are helping raise funds for domestic violence shelters. They are helping find missing people. They are giving hope and light to others. And they've made a purpose out of all of this because of Gabby. Because of Gabby, millions of people left toxic relationships. They have reached out to Gabby's parents. They have left toxic relationships. They have learned about domestic violence. So again, that's the GabbyPetitoFoundation.org. And I will be following up with the last part 3, my healing journey because of Gabby and me, very soon. I thank you for tuning in. I know I can get a little all over the place, but when you have lived through trauma and you tell your story multiple times, and when you're finally comfortable enough to tell your story, you tell it in a different way. You tell it with confidence. You tell it with power. You tell it with meaning and purpose. And it's healing. It's healing to speak about it. And it's okay to talk about it. And we should be having conversations about it. And if you see something, say something. Don't look the other way. Don't be afraid to get involved because you could save a life. I'm Tiff Klein with True Crime with Tiff Klein, giving criminals the disrespect they deserve.